Okay, let's take a look at some ablatives in the passages that we've been reading. Okay, first we start out with hoc facto, an ablative absolute. Okay, it's very common. Almost, I think, most of these passages start with an ablative absolute. Okay, so after this was done, in other words, what happened before in 65. After this was done or after this happened, okay, because this could be either facio or it could be fio, fiere, right? Fio, fiere, factus okay? And then notice our main verb is secondary sequence, okay? It's perfect tense. So this would probably be best translated after this had happened, okay? Um, uh, or, you know, with this having been done, something like that. Okay. The having been thing is a easy way of kind of not having to commit yourself to a specific tense. So it's kind of a cheaty way of getting around it, but it works. Okay. Um, and then we have an ablative here, which is just a ablative that's being used as a object of a preposition. Okay. Um, for this kindness or something like that, on behalf of this kindness. Um, now the thing about ablatives that are being used as object of prepositions, you can just say, oh, it's an object of preposition, but sometimes there are specific names for those kinds of ablatives as well. Okay, and we'll review those as we go through. Okay. And then we have quadratione. Okay, and what this is this is basically being used adverbial. You could translate this as how even, okay? But it's introducing an indirect question, okay? He showed Jason in what way or how he might be able to avoid the simpligates, okay? So I would call this an ablative of manner. Ablative of manner is kind of like the most adverbial use of the ablative, which is basically what I call the adverbial noun case. It's when you want to use a noun as an adverb, you use the ablative. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, here we have ingenti magnitude, rocks of huge size, or rocks with huge size. This is an ablative of description. Okay. Now here we have an interesting one here. This is known as a correlative. It's introducing a purpose clause. So it's kind of like helping the ne in introducing the purpose clause. And again, this is would probably be understood as an ablative of manner as well, with this plan in mind or something like that. Or a lot of times, so ablatives of manner and means you can go either way with some of these. Okay, one of the things that I'm trying to be careful about is if I'm going to ask you a question about an ablative, if it's like, let's say it's a multiple choice question, I'm going to do my best not to have any ambiguity in the you know in the distractors, between the distractor and the right and the correct answer. Some tests like the NLE and the AP exam, they might try to split hairs on some of these ablatives, but I don't think it's useful or fair. Okay, so these things, and then this is an ablative of manner. Okay, how were they floating in the water at a small distance? Okay, let's see. Here we go. They were running together with incredible speed. Ablative of manner. How were they running together? Now, could we say they were running together by means of incredible speed? Yeah, you could, okay. And then let's see. Okay, here we have an ablative absolute. Okay, so Jason, after the anchors had been raised, okay, he sailed the ship. Okay, let's see what we have. He's in prora, standing on the prow. Okay, place where, ablative with the preposition. Okay. In hand, okay, object of preposition. Where was he holding it? In his hand, right? Okay. Recta via. Now here's again, ablative means or ablative of manner. She flew, okay, by means of a straight straight path, okay? Ablative means ablative manner. How did she do it? She did it by means of a straight, she did it in a straight path. So, again, those could go either way. Let's keep going. Okay. Now here we have an ablative absolute, cauda omissa. Okay, she escaped unharmed with only her tail lost. Having having lost her tail, right, or the tail having been lost, right? Okay. Ablative absolute. Let's see. They put all their hope of safety in speed. Okay. Object of preposition. Not sure exactly how I described that one. I mean, in a way, well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay. And then here we get this one is a little complicated. So they struggled. Okay. Or they contended, right? They hastened. Okay. By means of the greatest strength, okay, and then by means of oars. So oars are sort of like the physical tools that they're using, okay, to hasten, but also they're doing it with the greatest strength, okay. So those are kind of both going hand in hand there, but they are separate, okay. Here we have another ablative absolute. After this happened, after this had been done, okay. And then let's see, they were giving thanks to the gods. Why? Because of whose help? Okay, so by means of whose help? So ablative of means, perhaps. And then they had been snatched from such great danger. Okay. Now, in a way, this could be understood as an ablative of source. Okay, the place from which. Okay, but of course, it's not a physical place. It's just the danger itself. And then sine auxilio, object of preposition. Okay, let's move forward. This is 67. Okay, again, we open with an ablative absolute. Okay, a brief span of time having been interrupted, something like that. Okay, after a brief space of time had been interrupted. And again, I say had been because we're in secondary sequence. Let's see. Okay, place where? In the boundaries of the colloquians. Object of preposition. And then we have, let's see. Okay, moved by anger. Okay, ablative of means. Here we go. Again, object of preposition. And then, here we have an ablative absolute. After his opinion or feeling or thought having been changed. Okay, after his thought was changed, he promised. Okay. After his mind was changed, probably how we understand that. Okay, and then let's see. With flames coming from where? Ablative of source, right? From the mouth. Okay. And let's see. Let's go on to 68. Do we have any ablatives here? Oh, look, we have one that doesn't start with an ablative absolute. And let's see. Okay, here to ablative of time when, in the middle of the night. When did she do it? In the middle of the night, right? And then we have an ablative absolute here with her father not knowing, right? Her father not knowing, okay. Now, how do we know what ablative absolute is an ablative absolute? Well, there's a reason why. There's two things. One, you're going to have an ablative usually you're going to have an ablative participle, okay? But the other thing is that the reason it's called absolute is because the ablative itself doesn't have to be integrated into the grammar of the rest of the sentence. You know, it doesn't have to be like something like by means of the father not knowing or something like that. It doesn't have to fit into the rest of the sentence. Sometimes they might, okay? But generally that's the reason why we have the absolute, because you're just setting up the circumstances under which the things in the rest of the sentence occur. Okay. Another ablative absolute after the juice was extracted, right? Okay. Another ablative absolute after this had been done. Ablative of time when, on the day on which these things were to be done, okay? Yeah, on the ablative of time when, on that day. When? On that day. Which day? On that day when, or on which, okay? That stuff was done, okay? Here we have, okay, now here we have omnibus hominibus is dative. And the reason why that is because this compound verb takes a dative. He excels, he goes before all others, and those are datives, okay? But then here we have two ablatives of respect, what they call ablatives of respect, okay? He was excelling all other men with respect to his size and strength, okay? Now, could we say by means of his size and strength? Yeah, that's possible, because that's how he does it, okay? But most grammarians are going to understand these as, and your commentary suggests this, that these are ablatives of respect. He was excelling all other men with respect to his size and his strength. Okay. Object of preposition. He was spending his time in hunting, and it's almost ablative place where in a sense. Okay, and then 69. Let's see. Okay, ablative absolute. Okay. When the light had risen. Okay. Okay, in which, place where, the gates having been opened, ablative absolute, after the gates had been opened maybe, he drug them into the light, and then ablative of manner, with how did he do it? With great difficulty, okay, and let's see here, ablative absolute, while everyone was watching, okay. Now, this is a present active participle. Why I say while everyone was watching? Because we're in secondary sequence. Okay. Ablative absolute. After this had been done. We've been seeing that one a lot, haven't we? Okay. And what else do we have here? Okay. Ablative of manner. How did he do it? With great diligence. Okay. In that place, ablative place where? Object of preposition. And here, miro quodam modo, another ablative of manner. Okay, how were they born? In a certain miraculous way. And finally, with 70, we will have. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Having been exhausted, maybe because of weariness. By means of weariness, okay. There's a lot. Means and cause, okay, are two different ways of understanding ablatives, but they're also very, very closely related to each other. Why was he exhausted? Maybe because of, because the thing is if you say he was exhausted by means of weariness, then you're kind of insinuating that he's using weariness as a tool for doing something, right? Okay, so ablative cause is a good explanation for that. From sleep. And let's see, a place where in all parts of the field. They were armed probably by means, okay, of swords and shields. Ablative absolute, after this had been learned. And let's see. And then we have, okay, ablative absolute, after the swords had been drawn. And when they had been killed, many had been killed in this way. Okay, so ablative of manner. In what manner? In this manner. Okay, and then ablative of personal agent, by Jason. They were killed by Jason. And then here, ablative of manner. How were they killed by Jason? With no effort. Okay, with zero effort. Or yeah. So Anyway, there's a wrap-up of some of the ablatives in our current readings. I hope that helps.